Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvara Gurapmeti Murti Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Tatiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome everyone. We are on our Vivekachudamani covering the verse relate to the qualifications. So last week we we began the verse number 9. For those of you not present last week, we did part of the number 9 verse, the verse presenting the 4 qualifications: discrimination, dispassion, the disciplinary sixfold qualifications that we will see later on, and the third and the fourth D. It's sometimes it's presented as the 4 Ds: discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. And this desire, of course, goes for an intense desire to know the truth, intense, burning desire to understand who I am, and to be free. So it's interesting to note that understanding who one is direct connect to freedom. Yeah. So we say that we can look into it like, no, my desire is desire to know the truth. But from a different angle, we can say that it's a desire to remove suffering. Yeah. And from another angle, we can say it's a desire to be free from ignorance, or free from from suffering, from discomfort, and so on. So we have these 4 Ds, and we looked into discrimination. It comes also at the top of our list, although we will see later on that the burning desire, the last D, is perhaps the most important of all qualifications. Because when we have that intense desire to know the truth, all other qualifications naturally and spontaneously they develop, because the chief qualification or power is the power to be free, the power to know the truth, the power to really understand my true, fundamental, essential, free nature. So we covered this initial presentation of this first D, the discrimination. And so we spoke a little bit about it because it's just an introduction to the qualifications. Discrimination, as we know, it's a faculty, it's an intellectual faculty that we all possess. We all have the faculty of discrimination. And last class, we looked into it, like when it comes down to the fundamentals of Vedanta, we talk about the discrimination between the real and the unreal, the self and the not self, the subject and all the objects. So basically, it's the, the discrimination between that which is always ever present, never modifying, from everything else that comes, remains, and goes, and in a continuous flux of change and modification. So we discriminate that which never change from all objects that by nature they always modify, they always change, and they're time bound. They come, they stay, but they go. Everything that comes into the objective view of consciousness is bound by time. It has the beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I also mentioned last class that a good exercise to develop discrimination is discriminate between what is dharma and what is adharma, because those are the most primary, the most important steps in our spiritual journey, is to become a dharmic individual, kind of fair, just, dharmic person, a person who understands right from wrong, a person who did not lose that kind of common sense, And by following dharma, which is not always easy to understand, and when we look into the Bhagavad Gita, we see the trouble of Arjuna. Yeah, he was having trouble to understand his dharma there. He was in a very kind of peculiar situation. But besides this difficulty to understand clearly what is dharma, we know that by following these natural cosmic laws, the laws that are building into the creation, this order to harmonize with this intelligent order of the field, by doing that, we unavoidably will develop peace and tranquility. Mental tranquility and peace of mind is a byproduct of living a dharma, spiritual, religious life. So therefore, this is a very, very important level of discrimination, discriminating between right and wrong. Otherwise, we are left to our vasanas. Our vasanas are going to do the discrimination for us. So if we are driven by our vasanas, it means to say we are not much different from all other animals. The animals, they just follow their vasanas, follow their natures, their programs. So we don't want to be pushed around by our programs. Or we want to, because our programs, unfortunately, they are stuff. They are filled with ignorance. This universal ignorance that sustains the human kind of status quo. It's just about total ignorance and total greediness and competition and me, and I want because I want, and so on. So all this ignorance, it does not work on our favor because we suffer the byproduct of this fundamental ignorance. So therefore, we need this basic knowledge, the knowledge about karma and dharma, so that we can begin discriminating from that platform to help in the development, cultivation, and development of a subtle mind, a pure mind. So that is the discrimination between dharma and adharma. Otherwise, we're gonna only discriminate between what I like and want and what I don't like. And that's where we get into trouble, and we see the entire world suffering, because everybody's there just trying to use this brilliant intellect with this incredible faculty, and just for the sake of discriminating, letting my vasana discriminate for me what I want, because I want at any cost, at any price, So that is not a very kind of sophisticated and elegant and intelligent way to live one's life. So we need to fit into this intelligent order and begin discriminating between all of that violates this intelligent order, and just stay with that. So we have dispassion as the second D. Dispassion, as we can understand, is the logical consequence of discrimination. So what does that mean? Once we understand that objects, they are not really real. They have certain value, but they are not real. They have a utilitarian kind of value, but they are not real. So when we understand the limitation of every apparent object, and then naturally and spontaneously we develop a certain dispassion or coolness or positive indifference towards objects. I'm not negative about objects. I like objects, but I'm cool about it. Why? Because I know the limitations of all apparent objects. To begin with, they are not really real. And then secondly, they have a certain value, but the big problem is that we project a lot of value on all objects of experience. In fact, we give them value. We just say like, this one, if I get this one, and then, and only then I will be happy, I will feel secured, I will be satisfied and content and happy. So we project all these values, but when we understand what is real and what is not real, and remember the discrimination, the first qualification is the ability to understand and separate reality from irreality. What is real from what is not really real. What is really valuable from what has a relative kind of value. Okay? What it has really secured from what does not really have any security, but a relative sort of security. Okay? So once we understand what is, we are, when we look into this from this angle, we are being very radical. When we discriminate what is real from what is unreal, we are going to the very, very bottom of the Upanishads. What is unreal is almost as good as not existent. Therefore, be dispassionate. It's not real. It's almost as non-existent. Okay, but we know that things are not really real, but yet they exist. So how many things that are not real but do exist? There are many things. We see a rainbow on the sky and we say, "Ooh, look at the color, let me go and get it." And then when you go, and then when you see it start disappearing, it was just a magic show, Mr. Maya producing an effect that was like, wow, I see something, but it's not really there. Or we see another physical phenomenon like a mirage. Can we say that it does not exist? It exists, but it's not really real. It's an appearance. It comes and goes. And our definition of reality is that which is always ever present. It's not that appears and disappears, comes and goes, and it's in constant flux of modification. No, reality is that does not change. And our discrimination, as the first qualification, is to discriminate this reality. What is this reality? What is that which never changes and never modifies to any contact with object of experience? What is that? So it's our conscious subject principle, consciousness, the witnessing conscious principle. This principle, this light of consciousness, is always ever present at all times, in all circumstances, all kinds of states of experience, mental states or whatever. This consciousness is always there, even in deep sleep, as we know. It never changes. And then everything that appears within the scope of this light of consciousness, this light in which things are known and experienced, that which never changed, everything else is unreal. It's just like mirage-like. And that is a little bit extreme, a little bit dramatic, because you say like nothing really exists and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people get a little scared about that, okay? So things do exist, let's say, They do exist, but we cannot really rely on them because they are not really real. There is only one reality, there is one principle. And fortunately, I am that. We are that. You understand? So that's the good news. There is nothing besides I, consciousness, that's real. I'm the only reality. So that is the discrimination. So once we understand what is real and what is not real, and then all we need to do is to discriminate it on a moment-to-moment basis if we want to exercise that kind of sadhana, discriminating all the time. So because every time we fall for the notion, for the illusion that something is real, we get ourselves in trouble, and we know that. The moment that we identify with something is because we are believing the thing is real, and then we become invested, involved, and then when we see we're in trouble, and we have to deal with karma and so on. So once we understand what's real and what is unreal, we naturally become dispassionate towards what is. We become dispassionate towards what is, of course, unreal. Who would like something that is not real? Who would go to the world of objects because it's unreal? Now, I have discriminated the real from the unreal. I really worked hard, 10 years work on the Upanishads. And now I have clearly isolate both parts, the reality and irreality. And you know what? I'm going to go for irreality. I'm going to go to object. Now, any intelligent person, a person with the intellectual ability to do this discrimination would, after all, go and say, okay, now that I have discriminated, I'm going to claim my identity with that is real, not with my body-mind complex, which by now I understood very clearly that is not real. It's just another object appearing within the scope of my conscious existence, right? So we just go for reality, and then we become dispassionate about all the rest. That's the point. So let's look into what it is to be dispassionate. For example, when we go to a cinema to watch a movie, so we go there and we are in a very nice state of mind. We are very centered. We did our meditation. We go there and we don't want to be involved with either part, the bad guy and the good guy, and we remain there doing my Vedanta discrimination between what's real and not real. And I watch the movie, and chances are that I'm going to be very dispassionate about the movie. So why I am dispassionate about all of those actions, events, and situations, and all the blood and the violence, because nowadays you cannot make a movie without blood and violence. It does not sell anymore. So when we watch something like that, we don't really get much involved, emotionally involved, because we are almost 100% sure that's not real. Although sometimes we get confused and we get identified with some play, But overall, we don't get confused about that. We know this is not real, therefore we don't need to sweat, we don't need to tremble with fear, we don't need to feel like crying, because it's not real. So we are clear about that. So we know what dispassion is. We are very dispassionate when we know for sure that something is not real, for example, right? We don't have any identification, any investment. We are just witnessing, a spectator, watcher of the movie. We enjoy stories. So human beings, we all enjoy stories. I enjoy stories. It's not very easy to find a new story because we have told ourselves all possible stories by now, right? So we all know what dispassion is. For example, you heard or you read the news. I mean, in the United States, we don't see much news. I know because I lived there for 14 years, international news. Okay, so but some of you may know that Australia is burning for weeks or months by now, right? Has burned millions of acres, thousands of houses, and so on. So it's a tragedy, you know. It's an apocalypse for them, for the people living there around Sydney and so on. You know, it's the end of the world for them. For people who lost their house, it's a total disaster. Yeah? So are they dispassionate about that? No, of course not. Yeah? But when we watch all of this in the TV, we are totally dispassionate about that, aren't we? We look at that, we look at very objectively, oh, yes, so it's really burned, that's too bad, and so on. So poor people, but we are dispassionate, we are not really involved. So we know what dispassion is. Huh? But just imagine that if that fire would change its course and go to south of Australia where our daughter or our son lives. And then this fire is getting closer and closer to someone that I care for, my son, my daughter, my relatives, you know. And then when the fire gets really close to someone that I have a relation, very close proximity, you know, effectively, and then immediately I lose my dispassion. So my ability to see things objectively without getting disturbed, emotionally disturbed, is lost. Why? Because it's someone that I care for greatly, somebody that I really care. So it's very, very interesting to see first that we know what dispassion is, and to see that it's so easy to lose our dispassion whenever we lose objectivity towards what's happening. And why we lose objectivity towards anything, any experience, any object, any circumstance, why we lose objectivity? Because we have I have an identification with what's going on. I have an investment. I'm identified. I am, you know. So therefore, every time I lose objectivity towards what's going on, I lose my dispassion. Huh? So dispassion, in a way, it's an ability we have to keep seeing all these situations, circumstances, and events of life, all adversities, all good karmas and bad karmas. We look at them objectively. Okay, the same way we look at all events on the cinema. We look at objectively. We don't get involved. But the moment that I get involved, I get identified with the play, yeah, I have an investment, and then immediately I lose my objectivity. Objectivity is the key here. Dispassion is a byproduct of discrimination, because once we know what's real from unreal, we can more easily understand, okay, this is not real. This is not real. Therefore, I don't care for that. I stay with reality. Huh? But it's also an ability to see objectively the world for what it is. When we have the ability to see all phenomena, you know, that happens, all situations, circumstances, events, when we have the ability to see it objectively, only then we can see it for what it is. Because if we see it subjectively, we superimpose, we project things which are not really true to the facts. Are we following? So now, how can I be dispassionate towards my own physical body? The next verse is going to touch this one. I'm just anticipating. How can I be dispassionate towards my own physical body? Why? Because my physical body is something so close to me that I care. I find it to be so dear, and I have such an investment on my physical body because I got this huge ignorance, this universal ignorance provided by Mr. Maya. And this ignorance says that I am my body, and my body is changing, it's getting older, and one day it's going to run out of existence, as if the body would have existence on its own. So this ignorance makes me, it makes it impossible for me to have an objective relationship with my body, to see my body objectively, you know? Because I identify myself with the experience coming from the body, of course, I lose objectivity. So now, how can I be dispassionate towards my physical body if I'm seriously ill and injured? Because when we are healthy and feeling, a lot of vital energy and say, oh, yes, the body, oh, it's okay. It's just another object. Huh? But when the body, I have a friend of mine from Brazil that she's almost 80 now. And she keeps saying that she's absolutely resolved about her mortality, that she's not afraid. Oh, the body, ooh, oh, I'm highly spiritual and so on, and I have this knowledge. Vedanta took care of that long ago and so on. And then the moment she has a little pain on the chest or something like that, she just gets all down and she starts feeling depressed and worried. It's easier said than really experienced. So how can we be objective towards our body when it's experienced pain and distress and illness and so on? We can only develop this vision of our body, which is the closest of all objects appearing to us, and the object that is most persistent to us because it appears with us every day when we get up in the morning. So the only way we can develop objectivity towards that is by seeing the body exactly for what it is. If I see the body for what it exactly is, and then I'm not superimpose, value or certain characteristics or certain principles to the body, which does not really belong to the body. The first to begin with is like, oh, if my body dies, I lose my existence. So is the body that generating existence and consciousness? No. No. The body, like we hear in some other teachings, it's just a food body. It's made out of food. The three gunas and the five elements, it's compounded and becomes the body. And it is inert. It's an inert kind of material. Like Ranji likes to say, it's just big meat tube or a big hot dog, So that is the body, seeing objectively. It's a bag of bones and flesh and blood and water. They say that it's mostly water. So anyhow, when we see the body for what it is, just a bag of bones and flesh and so on, that serves the purpose of receiving the mind and then being vivified by the mind, become animate, and then reflect my light of consciousness and illumine the field of action for my self-consciousness. So you see the body for what it is. It's just a medium, it's just an instrument, it's just a vehicle by which I can experience and know. But I don't superimpose any other value. I don't notions and ideas on the body. I see the body for what it is. So in other words, the only way we can really develop dispassion is by seeing things for what they are objectively, without seeing things subjectively. We see, oh, the forest and the city is catching fire, so it's a fact. But, oh, my son is dying and it's my son. I forget that every son and every daughter is Ishwara's sons and daughters. No, I see my son, I already project his, there, and his life is at risk. I forget immediately, that, I mean, truth, everybody was created by Ishwara, it's destroyed by Ishwara, but fundamentally there is nothing ever gets destroyed, but just transformed. So all these notions, they make it so that I lose my ability to see things as they are. Therefore, I lose my dispassion. So what then happens when we develop objectivity towards our bodily existence? What happens when we finally develop objectivity towards our bodily existence? We establish, when we see something for what it is as an object, when I don't get mixed up and confused with the object, when I don't get, entangled, misidentified with, when I see them objectively, what is happening? I mean, spontaneously and naturally, by seeing things objectively, I'm discriminating the subject from the object, and I establish my identity as the subject conscious principle because I'm seeing things objectively. Yeah? So therefore, I see object for what it is. I see the events, which is but an object as it is. And by seeing things objectively, I'm not getting confused with my experience. I remain well, properly defined as the subject conscious principle. So in simple words, I establish my identity as pure, limitless consciousness, the knower of the body-mind complex. The moment that I can see this body-mind as an object, I can see it objectively. There is much more we can talk about seeing objects objectively rather than subjectively. And one of the things is that every object is not only bound by time, but it's limited. It's finite and limited. By all means, every object is limited. What it means, it has a certain utilitarian value, but it's very limited. There are a lot of defects to all objects. And we have to understand what we can gain from certain objects and what we will never gain. If we keep that very clear, for each one object, the ability to see things objectively for what they are, this is wisdom. And then we know, oh, this I can get from the object, but it's useless to imagine that this object may provide me with something else that I'm looking for. And when we come to Vedanta as spiritual, as seekers of moksha, we want the ultimate. We want freedom. We want self-knowledge. We want wisdom. And there is no object that can provide that. Experience. Dispassion is experienced. So just talking in the language of experience a little bit, dispassion is experienced as a joyful indifference towards my life's events and circumstance. Favorable circumstance, unfavorable circumstance. Dispassion is a joyful experience. It's an experience, it's a joyful indifference, equanimity towards all life circumstances, being them favorable and unfavorable. It's a sense of, it's more than acceptance. It's a sense of okayness, It's a sense of gratitude to whatsoever life brings. It's a sense of equanimity in respect to all objects. We see everything as prasada. So this is dispassion from an experiential angle, It's a very cool, joyful, positive indifference towards whatsoever. It's indifference in the sense that we are always grateful, we are always thankful, we are always okay with whatsoever Ishvara brings to us, even if it's pain and discomfort, because we appreciate life. Understand? We appreciate, and we haven't done much to be here. Always, the only thing that we ask for is to respond to the field, to act, and then we are asked to respond in harmony with this natural intelligence, intelligent order, this laws, the Dharma. So we are asked to just respond in harmony with all other creatures and the environment and so on. That's the only thing that we are left to do. And we are having a hard time to do that small task as what we can give back to Bhagwan, to Ishvara. So on another level, dispassion is also the byproduct of understanding that objects are value neutral, that they are limited and defect by nature, by their very nature. Everything is limited because every object is defined by its name, its form, and its properties. And there is no object that contains all possible properties. Every object has certain qualities, properties, attributes. And then it's limited. So there are so much that is not inherent as a property to this object. Every object has just a few qualities and properties, right? So it's limited. Every object is value neutral. They are limited and defect by nature. So why they are defect? They are not really defect. They are defect to us who believe that the objects can provide us with limitless, infinite joy and happiness and satisfaction. When we relate to objects from that angle, and then we're going to discover sooner or later that they are not only limited in what they can provide us with, but they are full of defects. Okay? So they are defect in the sense that for everything in life, there is a gain and a loss. There is an upside and a downside. We have looked into that teaching come from Ramji several times. There is nothing in life that there is only one plus. There is always a plus and a minus. So if you want to have, I'm happy that I see I'm running out of battery. Give me just a moment. Silvia, can you help me to find this? Because I have to do it quickly here. Can you get the things here? So we are talking that the objects, they are defect in the sense that they cannot provide us with all these ideas, these notions, these illusions we have that, oh, if I find this, if I get this, if I get that. The biggest one, of course, is money and love. If I have all this money, then I'm going to be really happy and complete and satisfied and no problems, Everything is going to be perfect for me because I got money or I got love. No, I want both because with money I can get love. So then let's go for the money first. So when we see objects, not objectively, we see it superimpose our dreams, ideas, illusions, delusions, our notions. And then we sooner or later we'll find out that they are defect. But fundamentally, they are all beautiful. They are just this apparent universe is full of objects, and all of objects have their own, serve their own purpose in creation. You know, they have their own attributes and properties. Everything here is intertwined, and everything here is supporting the whole field. You know, it's intelligent field or the intelligent design, and everything is contributing for the total. So everything is beautiful and it's perfect, but it's not what I imagined that, oh, if I get this and then. So this passion is a result of wisdom, and wisdom comes by the means of cultivating and developing pure mind, no? Refined mind, purified mind, and there is no better purifier than Karma Yoga, as you hear me saying again and again. This qualification, this passion, concerns our attitude to that which discrimination has identified as unreal and therefore time-bound. Once we know that something will not last, we also know that it cannot provide us with the security and happiness we are always seeking. So this text, Vivekachudamani, again and again presents the fact that everything we do in life is mostly and mainly for the sake of security. So from different angles, we say it's for the sake of happiness. But happiness depends on resolving this most fundamental issue or problem, which is the sense of insecurity. And unfortunately, insecurity is not resolved by money. It goes much deeper than money and assets and properties and so on. You know? Insecurity is something that it's difficult to gain. You can gain emotional, mental security, emotional, and a lot of confidence in yourself as a jiva and so on. But deep inside, we are still insecure. Why? Because you cannot get security out of something that is insecure. The body-mind complex is by nature insecure. It's decaying day after day. It's disappearing, it's shrinking, it's dying. There is all the time this sense that anything could happen and boom, there I go. You know, we could die anytime. So this sense of insecurity follows us all through for thousands of births, of incarnations, and we have been experienced. It's all very deeply ingrained in our, subconscious mind. So we can do anything to produce absolute security, but we cannot gain security from something that is absolute insecure, which is our nature as a jiva, our apparent nature as an apparent jiva. Once we know that something will not last forever, we also know that it cannot provide us with the security and the happiness. Once we develop a discriminating intellect, we not only understand that objects are not real, but we also understand the defects and limitations of all apparent objects. Only then we stop superimpose subject value to them. So the most common example is money. So money is a huge, nowadays money is not just a symbol of the best symbol of security, but it's the best symbol of Ishwara. Everybody in the world is worshiping, money God. Money has become the real God, the real thing. Everybody does everything for money. And everybody is inclined to go chase money and gain and accumulate, because the more you get, somehow it does not change. You still find that it's not enough. You remain insecure. And it's not only that. the things get worse because the more you gain, more trouble you have to keep it, because keeping is more difficult than gain. I lived in the United States and I met a lot of people who were millionaires before and they lost. And they told me to become a millionaire is one thing, but to remain a millionaire is very difficult because things are changing around you all the time. So we have the trouble of gain all this money and then to keep it. And the more we gain, the more we keep, the more we have to lose. The insecurity is always there. Oh my God, now I have so much, and the more I have, the more I have to lose. Okay, there is always this defect there, because I have never really addressed the fundamental problem, which is my inner insecurity, which has nothing to do with the setup. There's no amount of things and people and situations that I can gain that is going to resolve this problem, because this problem is an inner problem. In truth, what we want is not money or security. So what do we want? We want freedom from insecurity. Who likes to feel insecurity? Insecurity is a very bad experience. There is a concern, there is a worry, and then, oh my God, now maybe, oh, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. Oh, I feel so shaken. Oh, I'm going to lose my property. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my boyfriend, my girlfriend, and we are there like, oh. So nobody likes to feel insecure. So we want to get rid of this nagging feeling of insecurity. So everything we do since we get up in the morning is an attempt to remove this sense of insecurity, of limitation and insecurity. No, we are looking at it from the angle of insecurity. So then the question is how to gain this freedom from insecurity. So we know that money cannot do it. Money can buy us so many things. I mean, again, we need to understand what we can gain from money and what we cannot gain from money. We don't want to say, hey, money is the devil here, So the evil power, the evil force of the world is the money. Money, if we look at money objectively, is just an instrument of exchange. It has certain value, but the moment that I overvalue money and then I start accumulating, I start fighting wars to gain somebody else's money and so on, and then I'm dealing with money from a subjective standpoint. I'm adding value to the money, but money by itself, it has a value as an exchange instrument. So money can give us many, many, many things. We go to the supermarket, we go here, we can buy a new car, etc., because I need a car and whatnot. But can money buy us real love? There are a lot of people out there that say, yeah, money can buy love. No. Money can buy companionship, because people are so ignorant. They believe that if you have money, you can share some money with the other, and therefore you are a happy guy and you're going to share some of your happiness to the other. But money cannot buy anything other than more than companionship or sex. But can it buy really love? No, cannot. Can it really buy a friend? No, cannot. Can it buy a house? Yes, but can it buy a home, a peaceful home? No, cannot. Understand? So it can buy a beautiful mattress, the most expensive mattress nowadays, $2,000, $3,000 mattress, a perfect mattress, but can it buy a good night of sleep? No, it cannot, because those are all inner kind of experience that depends not as much as on the setup, but in your own mental qualities, you know. So this desire for limitless security cannot be satisfied by money, property, assets, and you name it. No, all these things, they come and they go. They have a certain value to themselves, you know, the utilitarian values, but they cannot resolve this fundamental human problem of insufficiency, inadequacy, insecurity, limitation, and so on. It will never resolve those issues. Okay? There is, for those issues, we need a different kind of remedy altogether, not money. So such objects can only add to our insecurity, despite whatsoever temporary happiness and security we mistakenly attribute to them. Here and there, we get satisfied and happy, and we attribute that, oh, this is coming from the money and so on. In spite of that, you know, these objects, they come, they stay, and they go, because that's the nature of all objects. You find a woman, you love your woman. The guy is very rich, he's a king, let's say, and he said, oh, I am the most powerful man. I'm the president of the United States, so I'm going to get now a very young, beautiful, perfect woman. You know, the most beautiful, the Miss Universe. You know? And I want this beautiful lady to remain all the time young on her 20s. Is that possible? No. And then one day the lady gets old, and then the guy said, no, you know, I never really loved you. I loved your youth. Huh? I love the youth. So money can buy many things, but cannot buy love. And when we think that we got something that we can really count with, it changed. Even this beautiful woman that they got married because of her youth and beauty, the beauty goes, because everything in nature changes and goes. Stay, comes, stay, remain for a while and go. Once we realize that all time-bound objects will not satisfy us, we gradually lose interest in them. We become dispassionate. This lack of interest is called dispassion. We no longer spend our energy running, chasing, pursuing things we know, which we know will ultimately change and go and disappoint us, you know, desert us, leave us. It reminds me of Papaji. Papaji was a very simple man and was a simple-minded guru, but with a lot of shakti, a lot of energy and so on. And he used to repeatedly say something like, attach, get involved and attach yourself to anything that changes, something that's not eternal and always ever present without ever change. Attach yourself to anything that changes and it will bite you in the end. Very nice, huh? You be careful and watch out. Do your discrimination. Don't get attached to anything that changes. Get attached to that which never changed. It remains all the time, beginningless, the same. And then you are good to go. But if we get attached to anything that changed, it will desert us, it will bite us. It was going to bring disappointment, suffering. So that is the limitation of all objects, including money. But again, it does not mean that we should burn our money and no longer go to work, doing our jobs for money. No, we understand the value objectively. We know what's the value of money. and we know what money cannot provide as well. The money will never solve our problem of insecurity. The money will make me a successful, happy. The notion that the money will make me a successful, happy, and fulfilled person is a delusion. Only once we understand the limitation and defect of all objects, we can enjoy the utilitarian value of those objects. So I'm just wrote this note to again emphasize that the objects are not the problem. The problem of the superimposition of values we put on the object. Once we understand the limitation and the defect of all objects, only then we can enjoy the utilitarian value of all objects. So dispassion is the logical consequence of discrimination. It means that it's entirely based on my faculty called the intellect, my faculty of discriminating, discerning the real from the real, the dharma from a dharma, and so on. So dispassion is a byproduct, a natural and gradual growing byproduct of the proper exercise of my intellectual faculty. I just exercise this knowledge, understanding, discriminating, and then naturally, gradually, my dispassion grows. This is the sign of wisdom when we start becoming, more emotionally balanced, equanimous, and mental emotional equilibrium towards adversities and favorable circumstances. You don't really go crazy when things are going on your favor, and you are not either depressed or upset or angry when things are not favorable. So this is wisdom. It comes as a byproduct of our ability to discriminate the real from the real, dharma from a dharma. So the values from the objective values of everything in the world, from the subjectivity, all these projections that we put on objects of experience. But there is a counterfeit of dispassion that arises from discouragement. So discouragement is that situation that you say like, oh, you know what? I don't care for this. I'm a spiritual guy. I understood it. And I have no interest in samsara, and I have no interest in the world. But this dispassion, we have to watch, because we don't want a dispassion that is just escaping door. It's a way to avoid, confrontation, to go for what I really desire. I want it, I desire it, but I'm afraid to be a failure. I'm afraid I'm not going to make it. Okay, there is too much competition, and I feel already a little bit defeated. It's a self-defeating feeling that I don't want even to risk, because I'm already feeling that I'm small. And then if I go there and if I fail, and then my self-esteem is going to go even lower. Therefore, I say, don't worry, I'm spiritual, I'm dispassionate, so I don't care for samsara, I don't care for objects, and so on. So we have to watch out. There is a lot of that in the spiritual world. People who just they did not have the guts to go into the world and chase objects. But we can stop chasing objects only when this is a true kind of spiritual movement. It's a natural detachment due to my understanding that nothing the world has to offer is going to solve my fundamental problem. Therefore, I walk away from it. But if I walk away from it due to fear of failing, and then we cannot call it a real dispassion. It's more like a defeat. No, I feel defeat. Therefore, in India, there are a lot of sages, a lot of sadhus that
that did that. The karma is too difficult and to be there and to deal with everything, and then they opt out and they become a sadhu, and it can be even more difficult. It can be very, very challenging to become a sannyas if your mind is not genuinely prepared for that. Although not really dispassion in the proper manner, sometimes giving up pursuit of objects is not altogether without any value. It can become a good thing, especially if we have a competent teacher who can lead us to true, genuine dispassion by the means of knowledge, discrimination, everything, the spiritual growth is all based on knowledge, understanding, discrimination, discerning, following the logic, seeing reality for this apparent reality for what it is without superimposing. Real dispassion is deliberate giving up the pursuit of objects. Real dispassion is deliberate giving up. It's not like, oh no, it's too difficult and I don't have the guts and I'm just giving up. No, it's deliberate giving up a pursuit of objects. But it does not mean that we have to necessarily give up the pursuit of objects. We need to keep understanding these fine lines here. I need to stop pursuing objects as a means to complete myself. But in life, we need to pursue our goals. And some of these goals are also material goals. Understand? But if I pursue my goals, believing that the accomplishment of my goal is going to resolve some of my fundamental existential problems, such as my sense of limitation, smallness, incompletion, and insecurity, and then I'm superimposing value to my goal, to my accomplishment. So I want to keep doing what I want to do, what I'm designed to do, what I'm programmed to do according to my swadharma. But I do that knowing that nothing is going to complete myself. Why? Yeah, who can tell me that? Nothing I accomplish in life can complete myself. Because I'm a Vedantin and I know that I'm already complete. My nature is fullness, purna, completion. So I already understood the game here. I mean, Ishvara plays it so tricky that again and again it looks like that I need some completion here and there and so on. But no, the jiva is never going to be complete. And I myself, I am already complete. I'm full, I'm whole. I'm that which pervades everything. Right? The substratum of all objects. Right? It's me, consciousness, eyes. So knowing that, and then I can still pursue my my goals in life, knowing that nothing will ever complete me or solve this fundamental human problem, the so-called sense of insecurity. Because my nature is security, my nature is fullness, is completion, and so on. And I'm working on it so that my life is fully lived from that platform of knowledge. I'm a demonstration of that knowledge. My life and my knowledge is one and the same. So I'm working on that, but I know. Therefore, dispassion is deliberate detachment or giving up the pursuit of object as a means to complete myself. I know. I do what I do, but not for completing myself, just to follow my nature and to serve the field, to give back to Ishwara something in accordance to my swadharma. Defeat or fear of failure or fear motivate detachment. If my detachment is motivated by fear, it's like a forcibly
you know, it's like a forcibly giving up. It's not a genuine giving up. Okay, the next D are the disciplines, the mental disciplines. The sixfold qualifications are a subset of virtues that support dispassion. So in order to cultivate and develop, we need to go into this disciplinary kind of practice or sadhanas or qualities we need to develop, certain qualities that the next verse are going to unfold nicely. They will be detailed as the text progress. So we have these disciplines we're going to see a little down in the text. So we move now to the burning desire. Burning desire for freedom. The last of the fourfold qualification is really the first in the order of operation. So why it says so? It's the last, but it's in truth is the first. Because as I said in the opening of our class today, so we come here because we have a certain desire to resolve this problem, you know, once for all at its roots, you know. We want to treat the cause, not the effect. I want to resolve this problem at the bottom, you know. So I came here because I have this intense desire to resolve this existential human problem here. So I want to take care of that. So this desire, to the degree that it's intense, we start really giving credit to knowledge, and then we say, wow, I believe that this spiritual path is the only way to resolve all these human, psychological, mental problems. So I want to take care of that, and my understanding is growing, and I feel like, no, it's this desire is growing because I have more and more belief, trust, confidence that this is the remedy. Knowledge is the remedy. So this knowledge, this conviction that knowledge is the only remedy for this problem is growing. And then as this desire grows, it intensifies. And what it does, it gradually, naturally, it begins consuming all our samsara. Most in the beginning, gradually, it goes consuming our samsaric desires. Why? Because all our samsaric desires are desires based on this illusion that things still could resolve my problem. And now I'm going for the spiritual, but I like to play both teams. You know, I have my both bets. I have an investment in objects, but I have an investment in the spiritual world. So I'm not going to put all my bets in one, my eggs in one basket, as we say, right? So, but as we begin growing in this desire, this understanding, this trust, this confidence that knowledge is the only remedy, and then this conviction grows, and then our samsaric desires start drying, and people start finding us strange. What is going on with you? Why you are not going to the pub anymore, to dance anymore, to the crowds anymore? Why you are not doing shopping, you know, in the shopping center all the time and so on? So what's going on with you? Huh? So what's happening is that now I'm developing a desire for knowledge because I understood that knowledge is the real remedy for my problem. Huh? So this burning desire, it's going to gradually consume all our desire. Therefore, it's the most important desire. And not only that, when this desire is intense, all the other qualifications that develop with it. Understand? Imagine you have a lot of other qualifications, but your desire for freedom is very small. My desire for self-knowledge is very small, but I have a lot of other
I'm very smart, very intelligent. I have a very discerning, discriminate. I, how you say? Intelligent, Yuki. How you say? Huh?
Hold on. You say IQ.
IQ, yeah. So I have a high IQ and so on. I'm very, very intelligent, and I'm a genius, and I have focus. I can stay. I go to my lab or to my office. I can stay, doing my job for 3-5 hours. I have a strong mind. It's totally focused, So I have a lot of qualifications, but guess what? I have no desire for self-knowledge. So all those qualifications will never really develop this desire for self-knowledge, because they are by nature, they are all together from different planets, these two desires. Okay? So my other desires, the qualifications, are serving the desire for success and accomplishments and fame and wealth and respect in society. And this other desire serves a totally different purpose that is going to pull me away from the world rather than make me a success in the world. So this desire for moksha is the one that is going to facilitate the development of all other qualifications. Okay? Therefore, it's the most important. It is this character of mind, referral of all things to the goal of freedom, that provides the motive, the emotional force for the development for the development of the other qualifications. The more intense this longing, the more assiduously we apply discrimination. More assiduously we apply dispassion and the virtues of discipline. So everything comes from this intense desire for the truth. Because when this desire is very intense, very strong, it's not easily stoppable. Okay? So when our desire is small, it may be abstract, and then we may give up. When things get a little bit tough, like there is a saying that says, when things get tough, only the tough gets going. So when things get a little bit tough, and then the people with little desire, they just quit. But if we have this desire, so we are kind of unstoppable. Okay, the next verse are going to keep digging into these qualifications. Verse number 10. You guys want to do a little bit of Q&A, or shall we continue with the verse?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh.
Please, Lynn.
Okay. So this desire being the most important of the four, as you've said, it seems to me that it would be useful to have an idea of what tools to use for augmenting that desire. So the only thing I can think of is Shastra Vichar, inquiring into the scriptures, just constantly exposing yourself to the Upanishads and things like that. Is there anything else that you can give as guidance on how to cultivate more mumukshutva?
No, you are right on. It's all about knowledge, understanding, have clarity of understanding. So we are Vedantins. We know that the only way for our spiritual growth and elevation is by the means of knowledge, understanding,
So is growing that knowledge just sort of grows your love for it, and that creates more mumukshutva. Is that
Definitely, yeah, yeah. So you begin understanding the basic concepts of Vedanta, and then you begin growing in your trust and confidence that knowledge is the only remedy, really, truly. Okay, and then your desire for self-knowledge grows, and then you feel more confident, more courage. You start taking a little bit more, taking more risk, because now you have a clear understanding of what is really valuable and what is not really valuable, and then
yeah,
you're betting more into this knowledge. In spite of people telling you, oh, you are becoming a fanatic, you are becoming this, you are becoming that. You say, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm looking after myself. Understand? Why? Because you understood the value, Lynn. In other words, it's all a question of value. We need to develop a value for self-knowledge and moksha. And we only develop a value to the degree that we really know something. There is nothing we have a huge value unless we know the thing and we know the value of the thing. So
right, that's true.
it begins with us submitting our minds to the scriptures, and then if it is our good karma, we will understand the value, and then this value will keep growing, 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 growing. This spiritual growth is nothing but the development of value for spiritual knowledge. Okay, spiritual. You know you have value for all kinds of knowledge. You have value for so many things in life, but now you understood that the greatest value is spiritual knowledge. So I understood it, I felt it, I put it to the test, and I saw that I'm getting a much better return of my investment. I'm living now as a spiritual being, and I'm living a much happier life. Therefore, I have put it already to the test, and I know. So therefore, growing, and then I say, okay, I want more, and then I again and again I submit my mind to the scriptural knowledge. That's going to keep feeding into the fire of of mukshu, this fire of burning desire. The more we do it, it's all about knowledge, understanding, right? Really following the logic and understanding, and then enjoying the freedom which is the natural byproduct of knowledge. You see, we present in the qualifications, we present discrimination first, and then we present dispassion already as a byproduct of discrimination. And what is discrimination but just application of knowledge? I understood by the scriptures what is real and not real, what is valuable and what's not valuable, what is the real source of security and now I apply this knowledge and I keep discriminating. But it's based on knowledge, and then dispassion comes, and then the power to do my disciplines and so on, and then everything begins falling into place, and this mumukshva keeps growing. And then comes a point that it cannot be stopped. It's almost like our spiritual development. It has a certain inertia at the beginning. It's a little bit difficult to give it a push, because there is a lot of ignorance that somehow is preventing it from really getting momentum. But once we go past a certain momentum, and then it's very difficult to stop, and then we need to really ride on that one, just feeding more fuel into the fire, the fuel is knowledge, spiritual knowledge.
I'm thinking, like, along the same lines, Arlindo, that ignorance veils our desire for freedom, for moksha. We don't even. I was thinking. I don't think at the beginning of this journey that I realized, or I was ignorant to the fact that that's what I really wanted. And so as we apply knowledge or we gain knowledge, then we remove ignorance. And ignorance is the veil. it prevents us from knowing that, you know,
Yeah.
that desire, it's even possible.
Yeah. Totally. What is this ignorance? The fundamental ignorance is this misidentification that tells us I am the body-mind complex. And then what is the byproduct of this ignorance? And I need people, things, situations, events, and circumstances, and I need an infinity numbers of things to secure and complete myself. This is called samsara, entanglement, attachment, dependence on the objects as a means to secure and complete myself. So this ignorance prevents, of course, us from understand that what fundamentally we really want is to reestablish our natural sense of limitlessness and fullness and completion as pure conscious beings. We are pure limitless consciousness. But we are limitless by nature. We are Nanda from nature. We are existence and consciousness and limitless. And everything we do in life from this samsaric kind of perspective is an attempt, an unconscious attempt to reestablish our fullness and completion by trying to remove the sense of incompletion. We keep trying to avoid things that limit us or gain things that I feel limited by not having this and that and so on. So we all the time we are trying to reestablish our natural limitlessness, fullness, which is our true nature. Once I heard Paramarthananda saying something very interesting. He was saying like every human being has a problem with death. Nobody accepts mortality. See, I mean, everything we do from young age is an attempt to avoid the unavoidable, which is our demise, our death. Everybody would like to live forever. And knowingly or unknowingly, everything we do is trying to secure our existence, in other words, to avoiding death. Why? We want to remove this sense of limitation because it's not into our nature to be limited. It's not natural to us. We want to remove. No, it feels unnatural to be limited. Likewise, it feels unnatural to die. We don't accept mortality because it's not in our nature to die. So our nature is infinite, beginningless, infinite, limitless consciousness, that which was never born and will never die and never change. So therefore, we don't, subconsciously, unconsciously, we don't accept death. It's the biggest limitation is this limitation imposed by time, in reference to the body-mind complex. We don't like the idea that we have to live only for certain number of years. So there is only one way out, is to apply knowledge and consistently, persistently, systematically, until we clear our minds, we clear this wrong notions, this beginningless, universal ignorance, that pervades the entire samsara. We need to just do this work. I know it's a lot of work, but we have no other option. What else to do? I mean, this is, in any case, this is the best game in town. Don't you guys think it? There's nothing more fun. I elevate myself spiritually, and then my elevation is going to have a positive effect on others as well. And I'm a contributor, and everybody wants to live a happy life as a jiva as well.
Maybe now is not the right time, or we don't have enough time, but to go back to the concept of deciding between what's dharmic and what's adharmic, and learning more. I know we've talked about this in the past, but to me, it's just a topic that really I dwell on, trying to determine what's the dharmic and what's adharmic, and it might impact like deciding like where I live or what my career is or who my partner might be, and it's just I keep going back to what's dharmic and what's adharmic. So perhaps not now, but sometime.
Yeah, I mean, you present more like from what you said, the examples you said is more like what is the best course of action for me, what decision I should take. This we never know. Nobody has the crystal ball. Every decision we make can turn, sweet or bitter in the end. You understand? You never know. There are risks in every step of our choice. Yeah, so we do what we do. Dharma is the most sensible thing. Everybody has a common sense about what is fair and what is not fair, what is just and what is unjust. Understand? Everybody has a certain common sense about that because we feel every time we do something that deep inside we know. Of course, some people, they lose that sensibility. This common sense, they get lost. If you keep smashing it, violating Dharma, smashing, you become insensitive towards this human sense of what is right and wrong. You lose empathy towards other people suffering, other creatures suffering. So you may lose it, but a healthy human being has this common sense. And then I heard somebody said, yes, Swamiji, so it's common sense, but it seems that nowadays common sense is the most uncommon thing there is. And it is a fact. So we are losing, we are so messed up that we don't see things clearly anymore. And that brings us again and again back. This spiritual knowledge, Vedic knowledge, is the way out, not only in terms of moksha, but for living in harmony in this planet. Otherwise, we're going to burn this planet, this earth, down to the ground. Understand? So we need this spiritual knowledge so that we can start understanding and regain our common sense and start understanding the real values in life and stop running like crazy, living this materialistic kind of life, following money all the time. So we need this knowledge. This knowledge is something that it's the only thing that can turn things around. This is an old battle, the battle between knowledge and ignorance, between Dharma and Adharma. So the Gita is nothing but a dramatization of this inner conflict between right and wrong, Dharma and Adharma, knowledge and ignorance, because it's both there operating all the time. And sometimes I feel that right now we have Dharma. Adharma is winning the battle right now, but you never know. We'll see. Okay, anybody else? Any contribution? Om Purnamada
Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so I was going to say some more about what Dave was saying, because he was more like present things like, I say, I want to know what's good for me, and they're saying, what is the best decision now that is going to pay in the future? But I guess what I want to ask you, Ruth, is to tell him to feel free to contact me sometime. We can talk more about that. Okay? Okay. Much love to all.
Namaste.
Happy New Year. We again, Ishwara willing.
Okay.
Email us
God bless.
when you're
Thank you,
available.
India.
Thank you.
Linda.
Bye-bye.
Safe travels.
Thank you. Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
all.
Was on it.